Hey guys, and welcome to the madness that is Total War Warhammer 2, as we're going to start this video off with myself, a rubber duck of war on the left hand side, bringing the mighty forces of the Dowie up against Mr. Exterminator and his vampire counts. Now this can be a little bit of a strange and tricky matchup all round, but I think it does come down to being relatively even in the current meta. But we're going to be particularly looking at someone who I think has taken the Dwarfs up a huge notch. And no, I'm not talking about myself and my Dowie gameplay. I'm talking about the new Lord. Well, not that new anymore, but the latest Thorek Ironbrow, who is so powerful in this matchup, and I think is almost a must-have pick, or not must-have pick, but he's never a bad option in against any faction. He is always very powerful. He suits the Dowie down to a T, and their wide formations with his buffs, as well as some nice items and so forth. So Thorek Ironbrow is going to be leading the battle charge for us today, of course. He is going to be riding his Anvil of Doom here, coming in with the Rune of Slowness, Rune of Speed, Rune of Wrath and Ruin, as well as the Rune of Doom. Here's the Master of the Ancient Law. He is given immune to psychology to all his bros, as well as negative armor to the enemy. But more importantly, he does have the Locus of Power, so this will force enemy casters who cast spells within 100 meters of him to miscast, which is very good up against the counts because we're coming up against an incredibly meta vampire count build, and almost every single time you will see a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord flying up in the sky. And of course, he wants to cast spells because it's so important to the vampire counts. Helping him out today, we actually have double Master Engineer down here on the ground. Now, we are doing as much tournament rules as physically possible, though this was a quick battle, so we only have one Flash Bomb. Of course, two is far better, but I'm trying to keep this as tournament legal as possible. So, double Engineer, still very good at poking, even though we only have the one Flash Bomb. Both, though, coming in with the Fiery Ring, should be able to do some good burst damage to the enemy front line. Now in the back, we do have Iron Drakes, as well as a unit of Iron Drake Trollhammer Torpedoes, who are already chevroned up to Silver Chevron and Triple Bronze, just to give them a little bit extra reload speed, so they can fire off those important volleys, because counts are very good at hunting down your back line. For the front line, we have Miners with Blasting Charges dotted all the way along. We have the Grumbling Guard in the central portion, Ekron Miners, as well as Longbeards with great weapons holding down the rear, with also some more Miners. Up in the sky, we do have a double gyrocopter, just the basic ones, going rather cheap and cheerful. Now, the plan here is you know your opponent is going to bring Fellbats. You try to bait them in and use the flamethrowers to just bathe the Fellbats in holy dwarvish fire and take them down a couple of pegs. For my opponent, we do have a bucket ton of Fellbats all the way along, a front line of zombies to absorb initial blasting charges as well as wear down the dwarfs, and a back line of Graveguard with great weapons dotted all the way along, including the Sternsman. Then on the right hand side, we have a double black coach, which are very powerful, though they do magic damage. They basically won't be able to touch Thorek whatsoever due to his ridiculous magic resistance, but they are the biggest mass chariots in the game. Maybe not actually now with Grom, I don't know, but for the longest time they've had such fantastic mass, meaning they can really push through the Dowie folk and do a lot of kind of carnage, even if it's not the most damage in the universe, but over the course of battle it really can add up. We have a Necromancer down here with a Scroll of Shielding. And I think apart from that, he's basically just going to be a mana battery. And up in the skies, of course, as always, we have the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord on his undeadly beastie. He is so often picked because not only does he have Heart Piercing, which is quite nice, he has Helm of Discord and Breath Attacks to take down the Dowie. He's going to be coming in with Raised Dead, Dance Macabre, as well as Invocation from the Heck, so all that glorious goodness. And let's get this battle underway. So the Gyrocopters have been a pain already, just shooting some shots into the Fellbats, trying to bait them out. Come on lads, follow us, but my opponent isn't going to be having any of it and quickly goes into a retreat. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord may be lining up a bit of a cheeky breath attack down the line, but these are only minors, so to be honest, I won't mind that too much, though still losing your front line can be a little bit disastrous. Master Engineers can start doing a bit of poke if he gets too close, so the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord decides, you know what, I don't really want to mess around with this, and he decides to fall back. Miners are using their blasting charges on the zombies, which you may think is a bit of a waste, but you have to kill the ground force if you want to kill the air force as the dwarves. So we're just going to go about as quickly as possible, ridding the world of these plaguing undeadly horrors. Fellbats are starting to swarm where possible. It looks like we're fighting right above the Iron Drakes, which is kind of a little bit bad positioning by me, as the Iron Drakes will struggle to actually fire and support, though it doesn't seem like we're doing it too bad there. And now the Black Coaches have taken considerable damage as those Trollhammer torpedoes get it down to about half health straight off the rip, and it very quickly has to fall back, basically doing no damage with that initial charge. We do have the Rune of Doom going down, perhaps a little bit early, but it is going to allow us to chew through the zombies that little bit quicker, and hopefully support the gyrocopters in the skies. These Fellbats are getting wasted right now by the holy fire of the Iron Drakes. We do have the first fire ring go down on the Graveguard, not catching them perfectly, but still doing some okay damage. And now the Grumbling Guard, with their mighty axes aloft, are coming in to cleave the Graveguard, ripping heads from shoulders. They're going to be able to do some really good work. I actually think the Grumbling Guard are very underrated. Fellbats are getting roasted in the sky once again by the Iron Drakes, but good pressure by my opponent as he floods in with the Black Coaches here. However, we do have the Thorek Ironbrow moving in to dish out the damage, and this Black Coach, though has already received healing, is going to have to start fleeing for its life. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord pops in, does some nice work onto the Iron Drakes, and is probably going to be wanting to bounce around as much as possible, not sticking it in any engagement for too long. Zombies continue to get exploded by Decran miners, and the frontline fights are not going that disastrous for us. The Grumbling Guard are actually doing a fantastic job, and a lot of the Graveguard have been dealt with, though more are starting to flood in from this nice little flank overload by our opponent. The miners with blasting charges, though, will be able to wreak some pretty dangerous havoc, though it looks like a little buff has come down on this unit of Graveguard. Thorek Ironbrow cares not for your petty Black Coaches. He's going to be just hammering them and forcing them back. As you can see, they just do nothing to him. It's kind of a fun counter now to bring Thorek in this matchup, I think. Master Engineers are holding the line. Iron Drakes have well and truly, though, started to be overrun, which is really bad news for us, and a big slip up for myself. Gyrocopters being able to be caught here by the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, which we shouldn't really be letting happen, and we do actually lose one of the poor Gyrocopters for our mistake. But at the same time, the Iron Drakes, though they don't have the big armor-piercing burst damage of the Trollhammer torpedoes, can still do some pretty nice work, and they're flaming the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord in the rear now, helping protect this Master Engineer. We are going to be popping a Rune of Wrath and Ruin into the world on top of the Sternsmen, who of course do have that weakness to fire, and a lovely fire ring does bathe the Graveguard in that glorious Dowie fire, followed up by a second one as well. Not bad, little bit of burst damage coming in. Thorek is still basically untouched. In the distance, Longbeards are cleaving their way through zombies. We have a couple of miners who can come back into the main fight. And the Grumbling Guard are taking on a 2-for-1 and winning comfortably. Up to 91 kills. They fight back to back against the forces of evil for all that is good and dowy in the world. Gyrocopters are finally free. Rune of Doom helping them to take down those Fellbats. We also have some more miners who can return to the fray. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord does get hit by a flash bomb and is danger low at the moment. Thorek Ironbrow is unfortunately hit by a Helm of Discord, but the Rune of Doom was mitigating some of that negativity there. And it looks like the Gyrocopters are back and fine. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord down to just 750 HP. Despite this, his leadership is really rock solid at the moment. Invocation Heck coming in just in time as he goes down to 500 HP. But of course, the Vampire counts, they never break, they crumble. Thorek Ironbrow still having a whale of a time amongst the Sternsmen and zombies, still taking relatively little damage. Master Engineer is up to 47 kills, not doing too shabby whatsoever. Unfortunately, he's not currently free to loose some shots up into the sky to try and break the back here of the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, who is back once again up to 1,200 HP. Some nice targeting by my opponent, going to float down, try to assassinate these Longbeards. We do have some miners on the approach, but no troll hammers to really punish the Dragon Vampire Lord like we did earlier on. The little Gyrocopter is going to be trying their heart out to drag him down with their range, but they don't have too much punch, unfortunately. Necromancer has found himself out of position and surrounded by Longbeards. There may not be that many left, but certainly enough to cleave through this frail old man. We also have some Iron Drakes who can return to the field. Still 4 models there that can do a pretty decent amount of punch. One Master Engineer has been terrified and is getting shoved along there by the Black Coaches. That's got to be really uncomfortable, but he's going to continue to flee for now. With Iron Drakes as well, trying to drag these Graveguard as far out of position as possible. My opponent decides to give up on that chase. That will allow us to bring back the Iron Drakes, hopefully. Once again, the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is down below 1,000 HP, but can we get the killing blow? That is going to be key. A lovely fire ring does come down, roasting the Sternsmen, who don't take too much damage from that, actually. I guess they are relatively well armoured. Thorek Ironbrow is starting to take some pretty big damage as the Sternsmen do get in and surround him. But the loyal Grumbling Guard, 180 kills in these bad boys, are going to start running back to help assist. It looks like we did do a restock on our miners with blasting charges just to enable them to get a couple more volleys off on those Graveguard, doing some nice damage. But these double black coaches have been a big pain in my butt and running over a lot of my troops, so we do manage to catch them with another flash bomb there. And Thorek is still going strong now. If I can assassinate that Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, these black coaches will have absolutely nothing on us, and these Runes of Wrath and Ruin are doing a really good job taking down the Sternsman, followed up by those fiery rings. The Graveguard are really getting dealt with at the moment. 83 kills on Thorek, the Grumbling Guard as well performing absolutely fantastic, and the Master Engineer has finally found Sanctuary in this central pocket. Elsewhere, the majority of our troops are running for their lives. Once again, we allowed the Gyrocopter to get caught and unfortunately is now down to just one model. And the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord has put up so much Winds of Magic into healing again and is nearly at 2000 HP. Some Iron Drakes remain, but I don't think that is going to stay that way for long. A lot of our troops are kind of scattered to the wings at the moment. However, the Master Engineer has rallied down on this flank. He can certainly pop some shots into the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, though the Black Coaches are on arrival at the moment. A Rune of Doom goes down, and our remaining forces are battering at the gates of this Graveguard, who are crumbling, but of course they are undead, as we spoke about earlier, so they crumble rather than running away, which my level of undead hate has certainly raised over the last few minutes, as I'm like, die, die, die. I'm feeling like, I know Darv really hates the undead because of this, and I certainly see where he's coming from. Thorek Ironbrow is trying his best. Black Coach is doing nice little hit-and-run drive-by, and this is good play. This is really good play by the Counts player. He's going to be bouncing out, trying to stop my forces from unifying and becoming one big tasty force again. And we are going to see a big, lovely breath attack come down on Thorek Ironbrow, and that is kind of the biggest hit he's taken all day so far. And then the Iron Drakes are trying to give a little bit of support where possible, but there's still 77 Graveguard. That is a scary amount of troops left on the battlefield. Master Engineer fires 1 or 2 shots left up at the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, who though is still doing pretty good. Rune of Slowness does go down on him as he slow-mo floats through the fire and the flames, descending like a demon from another realm upon the poor Iron Drakes, who actually hold the line relatively well considering a big dragon's landed in their face and dish out a little bit of hurt in return. One Gyrocopter has returned. He's going to be dropping some bombs down on the Graveguard in the later stages of the game. We are going to see an Invocation Heck go down on the Sternsman, but they've only got 3 models left, so I think an Invocation Heck on this unit would have been far better. And it looks like a Flash Bomber has now gone down, lowering the melee defense of all of these troops as a Rune of Wrath comes down. We've used those quite a lot today, and it's something a lot of Dwarf players I remember complaining about, thinking the Rune of Wrath was going to be useless. It's actually really good. I've seen quite a few people using it recently, and it really does help the Dwarves clear out chaff. Master Engineer is starting to be finished off here, though the Black Coach is both floating out to the side. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is very near his healing cap, up to an impressive 98 kills so far. Gyrocopter is now helping clear up the ground forces. The Grumbling Guard, just 7 models left. They shall know no fear. And even as the fire descends in, as the horrifying Black Coaches as well start to swoop, they stand loyal, at least for now. They are kind of waving a little bit. Rune of Doom has been popped up in Thorek's damage output to 69 melee attack. That is very impressive work, and he is now slaughtering the Graveguard. The Gyrocopter's doing some pretty decent work as well. We're going to be able to finish off all the ground forces right now, and it is just that Blood Dragon as well as the Black Coaches, but I'm really not scared of those coaches whatsoever. This one down on the left is basically dead. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is basically dead as well, but we're starting to run out of troops to help support the mighty Thorek. We do pop, and it looks like a Heart Piercer was popped down. And what's this come down? I was Helm of Discord on the Master Engineer, who's just trying to distract as long as possible and buy time for the Gyrocopter to do a little bit of damage at least. Trying to get that bounce power back in my favour, because it is looking very bleak at the moment. All it is, though, is 3 single entities, 2 on the verge of destruction. They are going to charge in, and the Grumbling Guard down to just 5 models. I don't think they're going to be able to hold too much longer. There is going to be a zombie summon coming down as well. This Black Coach seems to be about to die. He is looking not too terrible, actually 987 HP. But Thorek Ironbrow breaks, and disaster as army losses collapses in amongst us. And it is a valiant defeat for the Dwarvish kind. Well played to my opponent. That was a super fun game. I can't remember his name. Who was it? Exterminator. Well played to you, Exterminator. You did a really good job with the Vampire Counts. But I shall rule the day and add this into the Great Book of Grudges. I really do think if we held, we had not a great chance, but a small chance of sealing victory. The Black Coaches really can do basically nothing to Thorek, so it all would have come down to that RNG up against the Dragon, although of course we could have been cycle charged into eternity, and if we didn't get those super lucky hits, we would have lost anyway. But still, very well played to the Vampire Counts. That was a really fun game. I think we played, pretty good. It was a really fun, close game. I wanted to cast it for that reason. A few big micro mismanagements, particularly with our gyrocopters, cost us the battle, but still, it was a fun performance. And I think the Dwarfs, I don't know what it is recently. I've been playing a bucket ton of Dwarfs. I've been kind of cycling through factions, and currently I'm on the Dwarfs, and I've been having massive success with them, bringing a like 500 builds over and over again, but of course you can't pull that off up against the undead. So we tried something new, and honestly it worked pretty well and was very close. Now, Thorek Ironbrow was going to be the main highlight of this video. How powerful do you think the new Dowie Lord is? My opponent thought he was massively OP. He was telling me afterwards, saying that he thinks Thorek is disgustingly powerful. I've heard a lot of people say they think Thorek is actually bad and doesn't bring much to the battlefield whatsoever. I personally think Thorek Ironbrow has elevated the Dwarfs up at least a rank in like a tier list, for example, because he synergizes so well with the Rune of Doom, meaning their already cost-effective infantry is even more effective, and he's very good in this matchup. You can see him gain over 3,000 damage value, over 18k damage dealt, and 136 kills. He nearly picked up this game, rested it on his anvil, and smashed it to pieces, but alas, his morale was not there. We will go through the damage dealt and damage value of all the units in just a second. I'm rather excited to see how the Iron Drakes performed, but if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up, subscribe as well for more Total War Warhammer content into the future, and comment down below, what did you think of this battle? Did you enjoy it? What was your MVP? What was your favourite moment? And again, what do you think of Thorek Ironbrow? There are links down below in the description. If you'd like to support my channel, you can. I actually have a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. If you do over £15 as well, you can actually get Total War Warhammer lessons from me, which is always good fun. There's a link down below to my Discord where you can submit replays to the channel, get them cast. There's events that I host, King of the Hills, tournaments, one build battle royales, all sorts. And if you join there, you can hang out with over 700 multiplayer players, both new and experienced, so you get a nice little mix. But back to the battle at hand. Yeah, Thorek Ironbrow really was an MVP for me. The Master Engineers did a really solid job. 1,325 damage value and 944. If we had the second flash bomb, we would certainly be able to control those Black Coaches a little bit easier, though they did tend to roll in a pair, so one flash bomb did end up kind of being enough. But still, good work on the Master Engineers. I think they are very powerful addition to the Dwarfs as well. Big fan of the fact they now have the flash bomb. Monitor blasting charges did okay across the board. I mean, not getting the most damage value, but they really did help clear out some of the chaff, get rid of the zombies and the Graveguard. And the Longbirds with great weapons performed okay, 325 damage value, but the other ones 630, 529. The Grumbling Guard fighting to the bitter end, 220 kills, over 13k damage dealt, 1,111 damage value. Really did put the other Longbeards to shame. The Iron Drakes have formed pretty good, just shy of 1,000 damage value on the basic variety, who got 37 kills, did some nice roasting, and the Iron Drakes with Trollhammer Torpedoes, always a standout in this matchup if you can protect them, 2,233 damage value. They did so much lovely burst damage, and the double gyrocopters in the sky performed okay. I mean, we kind of mismicroed quite heavily on them at the beginning to allow them to get caught, and damage value 366 kind of shows that. The other one still did 722, and I think they're relatively cheap and risk-free. I mean, yeah, if they go down, it's not the end of the world, and you do waste all of your opponent's Fellbats, who have to kind of go through the fire to take them down, meaning they can't drop down on the Iron Drakes in the mid-game, and the Iron Drakes then can sometimes carry you to victory. As for my opponent, if anyone is out there learning to play Vampire Counts and you want to build to play against Dwarfs, this right here is basically the way that people play this. Sometimes they take out the Black Coaches and add in Varghulfs instead. That's kind of a matter of preference, so play around a little bit, because Black Coaches can occasionally be risky because they have to kind of build into the game before they get better, whereas Varghulfs have a bit more punch straight out of the kind of start of the battle. So yeah, if you are looking to play Vampire Counts, copy this and bring it against the Dwarfs. You should have some pretty good success. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, 100 kills on the dot. He set out with a plan and he managed to master it. 13k damage dealt, 2,583 damage value. So many times we were so close to killing him, but as all vampires do, he came back for more, angrier, and bloodier than ever. Necromancer is a nice little mana battery there, unfortunately got surrounded and dragged down by Longbeards, and the zombies did a decent job just absorbing damage like they're supposed to. The Graveguard across the board did some really good damage value, 1.2k, 860, 870, 1000 and 667 damage value, really put in quite a big performance, though they were dragged down in the later stages of the game by Thorek himself. Felbats did okay. I mean, these two units did pretty poor, but the other one did 495, so kind of holding his brother's high there. And the Black Coaches, 1,176 damage value and 1,053. Some really good micro there by my opponent to keep those guys going into the later stages of the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.